Right, what I'm here to talk to you about today is how to organize your research materials and come up with a process in order to generate a really solid process when you're reading academic journals. Research materials and specifically academic journals. So you've been assigned a research paper and you have a bunch of, you spent a bunch of time digging through the library databases, and as you dig through those databases, you've been coming up with a whole bunch of different articles. So at this point, let's say you've got 10 articles. So we're going to put these articles over here, and you've got Article 1, Article 2, and Article 3. You get the idea? Let's say this, for this particular paper, though, you need 10 of them. So you've got all the way down to Article 10. And so now you're ready to begin writing your research paper. Or you're ready to begin at least reading the articles and organizing your information. This is where a lot of students run into some pretty major struggles because they've got the articles and they've got the research done. Maybe they've got a couple books in there and a couple good websites. And now they're kind of flummoxed. They say, what do I do with all this stuff? And that's where, if you come up again with a good process, you can really ease this transition and come up with a better way to go about this than maybe you've used in the past. So I want you to think about this as an idea. Some people do this digitally, some people do this on paper. It doesn't really matter. But what you need to do is, first off, the most important thing that a lot of people actually neglect to do is to actually read the material that they've researched. So choose Article 1. We've got Article 1 here. You need to have either a Word document, a Google Doc, or a legal pad open, or a pad of paper of some sort. And as you're reading Article 1, this is my suggestion. On your piece of paper, you write the title of the article. For this case, I'm just going to call it Article 1. And let's say Article 1 is 3 or 4 pages. And as you're going through Article 1, you need to be highlighting kind of important key passages as you're reading it, things that you think might be interesting. And then over here, you begin to just make a quick bullet list of different topics. And you'll say maybe page 1, page 1. Now, these are not direct quotes, but they're just topics from Article 1 that you might find interesting. Page 2, and then another one, page 3, and maybe try to make, depending on the length of these articles, page 4, 5 to 10 topical notes per article. Then you get down to Article 2, and you, spelling error, and you do the same thing. So you get the idea, page 34, I'm just making this up, page 35, page 40, page 42. Okay, so then you've got all of this to be Article 2. So you've got a few pages of these notes, which I'll generate really quick here. And after you go through and you look at all of these pages of these notes, after you've read all of the articles, you've got some topical information about each article, and you have the location of where the quotes are. Because remember, every research paper needs to have good, strong evidence in it through the use of direct quotes. So after you've read these articles and you have all of this information notated, again, you're not writing out the whole quote from the article. You're just writing out a point of reference to bring you back to that particular page where you've underlined whatever you need in this article. So after you've gone through all 10 of your articles, your books, your websites, so forth, and you've done this, now is the time where you can look back and you say, okay, I need to start outlining my paper. What do I want my paper to look like? And at that point, really the first thing that you need to do is you need to come back to all of these notes here, and you need to spend some time looking at them and thinking about your whole research topic. And sometimes, as you all know, when we actually embark on our actual research topic, it changes a little bit from what our first intention was when we first started out with the project. That's okay. This is a good time to kind of re-examine your thesis statement or at least your working thesis statement, and say, okay, what's my paper really going to be about? And so what I'll ask my students to do at this point is to write a working thesis. This is not a precise thesis statement, but it's something that's guiding their paper and guiding what they're going to be working on. And it forces them to actually think about it a little bit. So, or think about the focus of their paper. So once they have this working thesis statement, then what I ask my students to do is I say, okay, go back to your research. And what I want you to do is I want you to find common threads that you see in your research. And so let's say that this is really close to this, and it's also really close to this. And you're like, okay, so there's some commonality there. They all are talking about the same topic, and it's pretty interesting. Okay, let's look over here. Page 63, this quote also really correlates with this quote in Article 1 here. And let's take a look at this one right here, correlates with this one. And you're going to be doing this over 10 articles, so it's not necessarily you're going to be using all your quotes as I am here. So, okay, so now we take a look at this, and as you'd go through, you'd be looking for all sorts of comparisons, and you'd be writing it in these notes. And then what you can look at is you can say, okay, all of the D's are on this topic. That's going to turn into a paragraph. All of the A's are on this topic, and they're going to turn into a paragraph. And all of the C's are on this topic, and they're going to turn into a paragraph. So then what you can do is you can go through and you can select all the C's, and you can choose the best ones for which quotes are going to be in this particular paragraph. So we'll just name this paragraph D, paragraph A, and paragraph C. At this point, we don't care about the order yet. There might be a natural order that's developing in terms of how these body paragraphs, because these are going to be your body paragraphs with your evidence, how these body paragraphs are organized. At this point, you might not know yet. At the same time, this is a good point to look back at your working thesis and say, okay, is my thesis statement still aligning with the topics that I'm actually focusing on? And maybe it's time to rewrite the working thesis, or at least to take note and say, my topic's shifting a little bit. I'm going to be tweaking this thesis later on down the road. But at this point now, you have multiple paragraphs ready to go. You can start thinking about what order you want to put them in. And now you can actually start breaking all of this down into a nice paper outline. So we're going to erase Article 3 here, and I'll show you what I mean by turning this into a paper outline. So the research paper, it's really good to have a pretty refined outline before you begin. But if you can turn the whole process of reading your articles and taking really rudimentary notes on your articles, you can automatically turn this into your outline process that really can build a whole lot of efficiency into your research paper writing. So I'm going to take topic D. So this is D topic, and I look at the topic and I read all my D quotes and all my research. They say, okay, and I'm going to write a topic sentence. Topic sentence, and I'm going to throw that topic sentence maybe right into my document where I'm starting to draft. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go figure out which quotes I'm going to use, and I'm actually going to type my quotes from my research and preferably put all the citation information in there depending on what type of citation form that you're using. And maybe you're going to have 2 quotes in this particular paragraph. And so I'll then go through and put this in my paper for each one of these. Now what I need to go through and do is I need to go through and write background information, introducing the quotes, information analyzing the quotes, and then concluding sentences about the quotes. So then I go through and I do that for each of these. And then I go back through and I start looking at, okay, and this is part of that revision process I talked about in the writing process video, is where do I want to put these paragraphs? What order makes the most sense? And how does that then relate to my working thesis statement about my overall topic? So all of this quick review. When you're reading your articles, you need to have some kind of notation structure where you can outline similarities in topics. You then need to take those similarities and topics and create paragraph ideas about them. Think about the order, develop a working thesis that will guide the overall topics that you then present in your body paragraphs, and start incorporating quotes, start working on topic sentences, and then all you have left to do is go through and actually write the body paragraphs. So I think that is a good process as far as organizing your research materials. Thanks.